Now no vacancy. Last time see up on FaceTime, chatting up the place, bout in our relation.
Company Limited. What exactly are his criticisms and the issues he raises? Stay with us on Ghana Tonight. We'll get into it this evening. Join us. Your thoughts and views, comments and opinions are welcome. This LaBianca case is taking a different turn on a daily basis. Stay with us on Ghana Tonight. We'll get into all of that. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs. Education Minister Dr. Yao Edochim counsels students of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology to desist from violence. The Buffer Stock Company has assured that all schools across the country will take delivery of food items to remedy feeding challenges in senior high schools. The Electricity Company of Ghana says some of its transformers have been tampered with as it works around the clock to get residents of Koboland restored onto the national grid. Oil marketing companies increase prices of fuel by at least 3%. The upward review is due mainly to the depreciation of the cedi. Experts say this is likely to accelerate the rate of inflation. There's more on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. We're very, very interactive this evening. And the last 2 weeks, we've witnessed in this country clashes between students of two major tertiary institutions in this country. I'm talking about the University of Ghana and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. Let's take a quick recall of what happened in the case of the University of Ghana, because that's a big issue for tonight. And we have an expansive conversation on this to find out how we can deal with this matter. We're separating the celebrations of the students, which is part of student life, and also the violence that characterizes it. This is what happened at the University of Ghana, Legon. This is some 2 weeks ago on campus. So that inter-hall fight ensued between the residents of Komo and John Mensah Saba Halls at the University of Ghana. This was on the 5th of August. And eyewitnesses who spoke to us indicated that residents of Saba Hall were celebrating their Saba Fest. As part of the festivities, the residents of the hall went on a procession, what is referred to in local parlance as Jama. Now, somehow, one of them strayed to the Komo Hall. He was beaten up and his phone taken away. The beaten Viking, that's the name they call the Mensah Saba Hall residents, is said to have returned to Mensah Saba Hall to report the incident that he had been beaten. That's when all of this happened, and that's what you see there. A number of cars were burnt. In fact, the count, according to the university authorities, about 4 vehicles were touched as a result of that clashes. Eventually, we saw the hall tutors of Komo Hall and also the dean now being asked to step aside. They've been suspended by the university authorities, and all universities as students' celebrations and activities have also been halted. Those are the vehicles you see there that were touched as a result of that clash between the University of, that's Komo Hall, and Mensah Saba Hall students. This was on the 5th of August. That's Legon. This is it. Now, when the dust was just settling on what happened at the University of Ghana, Legon, yesterday we got news of what happened at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. Similar fashion, same script Katanga Hall students celebrating their Hall week. Something happened, get to a clash with Unity Hall students, and then we saw the vehicles being destroyed. Take a look as well. Well, so that's what happened yesterday, and you had rampaging students on the campus of KNUST vandalize cars and other property in the clash between students of the University Hall, that's Katanga, and Unity Hall, that's Continental. In fact, a number of cars parked in front of the Conti were damaged by the feuding students. The last time we checked, the university say as many as about 6 cars. We'll get an update on the number of cars that were destroyed yesterday. Now, those are some of the videos and the pictures you see of the destroyed vehicles and some of the property belonging to the university that were vandalized after the clash between the Katanga Hall and Continental Hall, that's Unity and University Hall students yesterday. This was at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. These students, that is the Katanga students, were also celebrating their Hall week. That's what you see there. So let's settle and get a quick update on this. But let me just remind you, we have a number of people who are going to be joining us on this. Dr. Clement Tapak is a member of parliament for Bosa South, but most importantly for this conversation, he is a deputy ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament, and he was also a former organizer of the Old Vandals Association and one-time deputy chief vandal, and then was a lecturer and then also the tutor for the D block of the Commonwealth Hall. We also have Dr. Adam Bona, who also presided over a committee that was established by the university to look into some of the violence. But let me also welcome now Dr. Bekoin, Norris Bekoin, who is the University Relations Officer of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. Let's start from there. Dr. Bekoin, thank you for your time. Now, first of all, give us an update on what's happening on campus as we speak after yesterday's clashes.
Now is calm, and all students are going about their normal activities. The police are also still here with us to ensure that life and property is protected.
I see you talk about life and property being protected, but yesterday you didn't have information of what could have caused these clashes. Do you have updates on that now? What exactly caused these clashes?
We still don't know. Today, 9 o'clock this morning, the executive committee meeting met, and the Vice Chancellor to receive briefing from the various stakeholders. A fact-finding committee has been set up, and they have within 6 days to come up with their findings and recommendation. Meanwhile, the committee also took some measures to ensure peace on campus. One of them is this, that with immediate effect, all SRC and Hall Weeks celebration have been suspended indefinitely. 2, there will be random security checks in vehicles and in the various halls of residence by our internal security services in collaboration with the Ghana Police. Again, the vehicles that were destroyed yesterday belonging to staff will be fixed, and the Katanga Hall students will bear that cost.
You're saying that all the vehicles belong to staff of the university. Is that what you found out now?
It's about 9 vehicles belonging to staff and fellows of the Unity Hall that got destroyed will be fixed at the cost of the Katanga Hall.
let's establish this. So the Katanga Hall students are going to pay for the damage caused these vehicles that we've just seen. You say about 9 of them and the property that has been vandalized by the school, correct?
Have to pay for it. They have to pay for it. While I can confirm that we are picking a lot of these individuals who participated in this act of violence yesterday from our CCTV footages. And we are identifying a lot of them. We have also we are going to hand over some of these footages to the police to aid them in the investigation. Because some of the students are not, some of those people who took part in this violent demonstration yesterday are not part of our regular students. Some of them came from the University of Cape Coast, particularly from the Castle-Hayford Hall. And then those students are numbering about 40. They came in private vans, 207 buses, and how they entered the university campus, it still remains a mystery. And so we are identifying all those people, and they will be handed over to the police for investigation. We have also informed we have been in touch with the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, and those people that we have identified will hand over the footages to them to take disciplinary action against some of those students. It is unlawful for anyone to get up and then mobilize and drive into any university without permission, more so to come and cause havoc. It is unacceptable, and we have to make sure that we put a stop to some of this indiscipline.
You're saying that the University of Cape Coast students who came to celebrate with the Katanga Hall, obviously upon the invitation of the Katanga Hall leadership, that's what we're learning now. You're saying that they were part of the people who vandalized the property of the KNUST? Is that what your CCTV videos have shown you? Reason why you're saying that they could have been involved?
The number about 40 of those of them, 40 Castle-Hayford affiliates, or whether they are fellows or affiliates of Castle-Hayford Hall, took part in this march yesterday.
But, I mean, this was a clash between 2 halls. But why is it that the Katanga Hall students alone have to bear the cost of these repairs?
Unity Hall fellows were in their hall, and they had their Hall Week celebration last week. They also embarked on a procession, peaceful procession, and they never attacked Katanga Hall. And this week is the turn of Katanga Hall to celebrate their Hall Week. And they decided to march to Unity Hall to go and cause some of this distraction. We later on picked up a lot of social media posts from the Katangese, which we suggest that this act was premeditated, planned, and executed. And so they have to bear the cost of those distractions. Of course, if you watch the footages, the CCTV footages, you don't see any Unity Hall student engage in any kind of throwaway or distraction of property. All those who distracted or who caused distraction to these properties were those who were marching from Katanga Hall. So they have to pay. You have to pay for it.
I see. Well, that's what you say your CCTV videos are showing you. So maybe just to lay another, clarity to this position you've taken, let us see the CCTV videos so that we get to know that indeed it was just Katanga Hall students who vandalized the properties and the cars you're saying they should pay for the repairs. But are you, the university authorities, absolving yourselves of any blame of what happened yesterday, Dr. Bekoin?
Of course, I would say yes, because, yesterday, you see, for instance, the students who came from Castle-Hayford, they came without the knowledge of the management of the university. You understand the point? And then there were security personnel, police people were on campus. Our own internal security people were here. And when the students were about to march, they had, how do you call it, an arrangement. They were supposed to follow a route. And then in the course of the march, some of them decided to veer off the route and to go and cause distraction. How do we manage some of these things? It is just sheer act of indiscipline. And we have people who have been rusticated, some of them have been dismissed. And because we say, oh, we have to add a human face to it, don't publish their names, don't publish their faces. Let's try to keep it so maybe they can reform and then turn a new leaf and they come back and do some of these things. It is now time for us to crack the whip and expose everybody. Again, one of the decisions we're considering is to any alumni who is part of this group, if he has completed and has our certificate, we can revoke that certificate because the certificate is awarding. We will revoke it.
You're going to revoke their certificates. That's, well, I think we'll see how the coming days will look like on this. But Dr. Daniel Norris Bekoin, thank you so much for your time this evening. Dr. Daniel Norris Bekoin is the University Relations Officer of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST. Far-reaching decisions they've taken, including some of the alumni. That's if they identify any of them who were involved in what happened yesterday, they're going to revoke their certificates. Stay with me. This is Ghana Tonight. We're not ending on this particular issue. I have Dr. Clement Apaak, who is a member, in fact, deputy ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament, and then also Dr. Adam Bona joining us right after this quick break. Stay with us. Dr. Apaak, can you hear me? Hello, Dr. Apaak, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I can.
Dr. Adam Bona, can you hear me? Hello, Dr. Adam Bona, can you hear me? Oh, Dr. Clement Apaak, your video has gone back to the small size. If you can expand it for me.
That's it.
Yes,
Is it
yes,
okay now?
yes, it is. It is.
Right.
Dr. Adam Bona, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. We're good to go. Yo. Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. And tonight we're focusing on the two clashes between students of two different, in fact, this incident happened two different universities at different times involving two halls during the same period of hall celebrations. It follows the same script, but this is not new in the sense of the word. What exactly can be done? In the case of KNUST, the university authorities are absorbing themselves of any blame. But I've been joined via Zoom by Dr. Clement Apak. He is a deputy ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament. He's a member of Parliament for Bosa South as well. But most importantly, for this conversation, he's a former organizer of the Old Vandals Association. That's a Commonwealth Hall Old Students. And then also a former deputy chief vandal. And he was a lecturer at the University of Ghana, Legon. And then also the former tutor of a D Block at the Commonwealth Hall. Dr. Clement Apak, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Yes, it's a pleasure, Alfred.
Great. Let me also welcome Dr. Adam Bona. He's a security analyst. And most importantly for this conversation as well, the committee chair that led the probe into the October 29, 2021 clash between some students of the University of Ghana. Joining me as well. Dr. Adam Bona, thank you so much for your time on Ghana Tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Now, let me start off with you, Dr. Clement Apak. Beyond your affiliation to the Commonwealth Hall, I'm sure as the deputy ranking member of the Education Committee of Parliament, you've been looking into this, especially with what happened yesterday at the KNUST. What exactly, in your view, could have been the underlying currents in all these two instances?
Very well, Alfred. I am speaking in my capacity as, a former lecturer and somebody who was in leadership, both in my student days, as well as the national organizer of the Old Vandals Association. The Education Committee of Parliament, as you know, we are on recess. So we have not been able to meet and to discuss this matter. But I believe as individuals in the area of oversight to do with education, we are all worried and concerned about what is going on these, if you like, university campuses. My initial assessment, at least, with regards to the occurrence in both schools, is that the triggers are different. It is the case that at least the common denominator is that Hall Week celebrations were ongoing. In the University of Ghana case, for example, it was the students of Commonwealth Hall who were celebrating their annual Hall Week festival, so to speak. And from my sources, one of them, or a group of them in a car, were going about their business on the campus. They were then accosted by a group of boys, ostensibly from Sabah Hall, who then accosted the Commonwealth Hall boys, extracted them from the car, and beat them to pulp. And that was the trigger. In the case of the KNUST, from the narration given by the Public Affairs, was it Public Affairs Directorate, that would suggest that the students of Katanga went on their march and they were the provocateurs, which then led to the clashes that we saw. So we ought to look at them within the context of the trigger factors, and then we can then look at the aftermath. But, we must all condemn these wanton acts of violence and destruction of the bat. But just condemnation is not going to be sufficient. And that is why it is important that the authorities of both institutions at least allow for a fair and dispassionate investigation so that we can get to the bottom of this and so that the culprits, those who are duly responsible for the actions that brought about the destructions that we have seen, are held accountable. And we should also be very mindful, as we are now here in the case of the KNUST, that there were external forces that were introduced into the equation. In this case, the public relations or public affairs is letting us believe that they were students from the UCC. It is entirely possible to that in the case of the UG, some of those who may have participated in this act may not be from either the Sabah Hall or the Commonwealth Hall. And so those are my initial observations about the two scenarios.
I see. Now, Dr. Adam, but I'll bring you in here. So, I mean, you have been neck deep into investigating cases of this nature, at least at the University of Ghana. To the extent that this recent one at the KNUST happened almost with the same script of what happened at the University of Ghana, Legon, can the university authorities absolve themselves of any blame whatsoever?
Yeah, good evening and good evening to Honorable Apak. No, they cannot absolve themselves from blame. I'm already hearing the KNUST authorities attempting to absolve themselves from blame. I think that they would have to take full responsibility for the chaos and the despicable acts of violence on KNUST immediately after what we saw at UG. And the reason why I think that KNUST could have acted promptly, they could have acted early enough to stop this. They should have seen this coming, because you remember your network interviewed me when the Legon one happened. And one of the observations, were that you have that triangle, Legon, KNUST, and UCC. So you have students from UCC and KNUST coming in when there is, an activity concerning Commonwealth Hall, Hall Week celebration and the like. And so very likely this that has happened on UG campus would happen on KNUST campus. And it didn't take, more than 10 working days. KNUST also unfolded. And so whilst we are having this conversation, I am believing and hoping that UCC authorities are listening. They shouldn't wait till something happens and then they begin to attempt to absolve themselves from blame. Mine is that these universities, especially the three big public universities, will have to fashion out radical measures of ensuring that violence on their campuses, is nipped in the bud. But unfortunately, some of us who have probably investigated some of these things or chaired a committee to investigate violence will tell you that until something drastic is done, this will never go away. It is planned like anyone who is a strategist when it comes to military precision and all that will tell you that what you saw on Legon campus was not so different from what you saw at the KNUST campus. So you have old students who have finished, let's say, Legon, and are still resident in the Commonwealth Hall, within the prison, are still resident within the facility. And these are the people who groom the young ones who come in. So they are able to take them through, what to do. And so, for instance, you notice that Legon, when they were having their procession, they were not carrying stones. But when the trigger was pushed,
right,
from nowhere were sticks, were stones, because then the strategists have planned it with precision, like a military, like a war. So they go around probably a day or two before the procession, they gather stones, empty waste bins, and fill the waste bins with stones and leave them very close to the target.
Right.
So when the trigger is pushed, you would have followed them as a police without any missiles, weapons, but they get to the trigger point, and when it is triggered, you would be overwhelmed, because then they don't have to go far because they know where the waste bins are. So you have some students who will be pulling the waste bins, following their colleagues whilst they are picking them from the waste bins and throwing them and pelting one another.
I see.
For that of Legon, the recent one, you ask yourself, what business has a student got to do with gasoline, petrol? What business has a student got to do with, acid? So the SRC confrontation, buses were vandalized, properties were destroyed. And some of us actually said that if nothing was done drastically, University of Ghana one day would go up in flames.
In fact, for the KNUST one as well, the video we are just showing, you'll see the fire as well. So they were throwing bottles filled with fire.
Yes,
you see
something that looks like petrol bombs.
Petrol bombs, and it hit the back of one of the students whose shirt caught fire, and they had to douse the fire immediately.
That is what brought about the injuries.
Indeed.
Yes. So what I'm literally saying is that the university authorities would have to crack the whip. But in the past, what has happened is that administratively students are punished. And usually you don't have senior members of this university when probably they are negligent, they never get punished. You also have, for probably that of Legon, you have hall masters whose allegiance is actually not to the university. Their allegiance is actually to the hall, where they are hall masters or hall tutors. And when that happens, for instance, some of the hall masters who were invited to meet my committee, they came in claiming they didn't see anything, they didn't hear anything, they didn't feel anything. They only, after the carnage on Legon campus, a day or two, then they heard there was some confrontation, but they really haven't met anybody, haven't met JCR, haven't met nobody.
Right.
They don't have any reports. And you know that these are just palpable lies. Because then if the university management and council have no hands in your appointment, your allegiance obviously will be to those who appointed you or put you there.
Interesting that you make this point, because Dr. Clement Park is a former tutor of the Block D block of the Commonwealth Hall. Dr. Clement Park, I know that you have also contested the decision by the University of Ghana to suspend the hallmaster, the Commonwealth Hall hallmaster, and the senior tutor as well. But listening to Dr. Adam Bonah's analysis, it raises some legitimate concern about these issues of whether or not and to what extent these hallmasters can take responsibility for what the students engage in.
Well, I disagree with some portions of his submission, and I agree with some. For example, the issue of students completing and not moving on and still being domiciled in various halls, honestly, it's not only a feature that is attributable to Commonwealth Hall. So it is both ways. We also know that in the other halls, that also happens. So that cannot be the basis for what happens. I was there in the Commonwealth Hall in my day. As I said earlier, I was a deputy chief vandal. We had, similar, altercations with the same Saba Hall, but things did not escalate to the magnitude that we are seeing them happen today. And even in our day, it wasn't as though, students in Commonwealth Hall, myself included, just woke up and went to try and show our muscle. There was always a trigger. Somebody always provoked us, and we responded. This is not to justify what has happened. And that is why we, the old vandals in Parliament, and indeed, the whole council has also issued a statement contesting what the University of Ghana is seeking to do. Because it is entirely possible that the hallmaster and the senior tutor may have been, caught on the blind side as far as these activities are concerned. And indeed, we don't so fully admit that the mayhem that has been reported and the destruction that we have seen can only be attributed to the actions of students deemed to have been residents of the Commonwealth Hall. And that is why we continue to ask for a fair and dispassionate investigation. But if you listen to the commentary, it is as though already judgment has been passed to the extent that fingers are being pointed at Commonwealth Hall, and it is Commonwealth Hall tutors and hall masters who are being asked to step aside. When indeed, we all know that it takes two to tango. So whatever is being said could have been something that the other halls duly participated in. And so that is the concern that, we are raising and we continue to raise. But other than that, I agree with him that, this tradition of old students not moving on, staying in the hall, certainly it can have a positive and a negative influence.
Yeah.
And if indeed this is the negative influences that we believe is coming from old students staying on campus, then there has to be a clear policy across board to ensure that no old student, either from Commonwealth or Sabah, is allowed to be resident in any of the halls.
Finally, to you, that's on this one, that's Dr. Adam Bona, recommendations. Indeed, to the extent that this is not the first time we are seeing this. In fact, when this came up and the media was talking about it, others were like, you know what, this happens. And so it's nothing really new, but this time we've seen the extent of violence growing every year. What should be done to ensure that you are not taking the university experience that students have to have, that's with the hall celebrations and their traditional activities, and then also taking away the violence that characterizes this?
Well, okay, so point of correction. I didn't single out Commonwealth Hall. What I said was that the violence, you have so many students who have finished the university who were resident in these halls and are still resident there. And it's actually per what came out, the findings. It is not just limited to Commonwealth Hall and probably Sabah Hall. It's everywhere. And that also fuels, it's become a breeding ground for some of the things that are going on these campuses. Now for recommendations. As far as I am concerned, I would want to see a clear case of identifying the actual culprits and not just punishing them administratively, but putting them through civilian courts and getting them severely punished as a deterrent to those who probably will want to, do the same thing, punish them. Because in the past, some students are probably sent home for some years or just sacked and nothing happens. The other thing has to do with what I call the informant regime.
Finally, yes.
Universities should institute an informant regime where students who are willing and are able to share information about plans to disrupt or, be violent and create anarchy on campus are picked up. And once your information is credible, you are paid for providing information that would lead to stopping probably an impending, destruction of university property. The other thing has to do with ensuring that, the security on campus is good. These public universities had, by their nature, had police stations attached to them. You take Legon, for instance. The police station has outlived its usefulness. So I am calling for a standby force, police form unit with about probably 100 room or flat barracks for police officers who are ready. Because now you have JIMPA, you have UPSA, and Legon, and look at the community. And so the recent one, the police...
To be able to deal with that. And I think I get that recommendation is quite far-reaching. And all of this is to see how we're able to forestall these developments going forward. Gentlemen, appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Dr. Yes, Clement Apaak. He is a member of Parliament for the Bosa South constituency. He's a deputy ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament. Also, Dr. Adam Bona is a security analyst, a one-time chair of a committee that was established by the University of Ghana, Legon, to look into some violent clashes sometime in 2019. But for this conversation, most importantly, Dr. Clement Apaak was a deputy chief vandal and then also a national organizer of the Old Vandals Association. We'll have a lot more coming up in the coming days on this matter as well. But this is Ghana Tonight. But let's get into the Yilo and Lower Manyakrobo areas. Before that, we need to do this quickly. That's Ibrahim Abubakar is my colleague in the Ashanti region. He's joining us as well to give us a quick update of what's happening there at the KNUST campus. We also heard from the Education Minister, Dr. Yao-Osei Duchum, on this matter as well. But let's take the Education Minister quickly, talking about what the ministry is doing about these two instances.
We've heard of the disturbances at University of Ghana, Legon, and Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm a KNUST graduate. It's unfortunate that we hear of these disturbances. I have a long talk with the Vice Chancellor. He came to brief me of Legon, the premier university in Ghana. She came to brief me on the happenings on campus. And we are not happy that the future leaders of this country will behave in such a manner. We want the whole authorities and the university to come together and find a lasting solution to these disturbances, whether it's at University of Ghana or at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I believe that they need to be counseled and guided, but after all that, if they decide to take the law into their own hands, the university should deal with them accordingly. But they need to be supported, guided to see the wisdom in not doing what has happened at our various universities. So we are hoping and praying that the university authorities will get a handle on this and preempt some of these things. And I think it's going to come when we do the counseling and guidance and admonition and all those things to help the young men and women understand that you don't solve problems by resorting to violence.
Well, so that's Dr. Yao-Osei Duchum, Education Minister there. Let's go to the Ashanti region. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar is there. Ibrahim, you are at the campus today and interacted with some of the students. What's the atmosphere like, and what did the authorities tell you about measures put in place so far?
Well, Alfred, I engaged the students after the school authorities released the communique that has to do with suspension of Hall Week and SRC Week celebration. In fact, that is where some of the students had concerns. It was a mixed reaction. For some of them who are against the suspension of the Hall Week celebration, they believe that that is not the only avenue for the clashes. Mind you, since 2018, there has been a hold on Hall Week celebration. So since 2018, 2019, 2020, because of the vandalism that happened in 2018, Hall Week celebration was suspended. Yet last year in 2021, there was a clash between students of Katanga and Continental during the SRC 13 proceedings. So this is something with the least opportunity, then the clash will be. So they were expecting management to come out with a long-term solution so that going forward, we wouldn't be experiencing such kind of vandalism again. And also, we have some of the halls that are even yet to celebrate this. Last week, Continental celebrated its Hall Week. This week, it was that of Katanga, and next week, Republic Hall were also planning to celebrate. So for them, it has affected their preparations and other things. But for others, it is a good measure because